Bhagavatam 1 6:32 Devdattamimam Veenam Swarabrahma Vibhushitam Murchayitva Harikatham Gayamanascharāmyaham. Here Narad Muni is speaking to Vyasadeva and he is giving the concluding instructions in the interaction that leads to the manifestation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Narad Muni has spoken about the glories of glorifying the Supreme, and then he described how he came to realize and relish those glories. And in that connection, he told his own story of how he, as a maidservant's son, got to hear the glories of the Lord from traveling mendicant saints, and how he also took shelter of those glories when life slapped him with the adversity of taking away his only caretaker relative, his mother, and he turned towards the supreme caretaker, the supreme Lord, by absorbing himself in his glories after going in another direction and navigating through various dangers. How the Lord appeared before him and then disappeared, but kept for him fervent desire that burned away all his impurities, and how that desire took him, not just kept him in an enlightened state, not just while going from one body to another, but also while going through the process of cosmic annihilation that happens at the end of the day of Brahma. And then how he now travels everywhere, relishing the glories and sharing the glories of the Lord. That is what is being described here. So this was Devadattam Imam Veenam. Devadattam. That the Lord has given me this Veena. Ima Veenam. This Veena. Swarabrahma Vibhushitam. One of the most potent ways in which the Lord is glorified is through music. So, for the sake of music, there are various musical instruments, and Narad Muni's characteristic instrument is the veena. He travels with the veena and he plays the veena and he charms the hearts of the people with both the sound, music from the veena, and the songs which he's playing, singing and along with the veena. So, Swara Brahma Vibhushitam, music itself can be very pleasing. But when Swara Brahma Vibhushita, when the musical meters, when musical compositions are actually manifesting the Supreme, are talking about the absolute truth, they are Brahma Vibhushita, then they are especially potent. They can actually transform hearts and lives in a way that no other sound vibration can transform. Brahma Vibhushitam. And then he says further that as he travels like this, Murchayitva Harikatham, he speaks the pastimes of Lord Hari, and Gayamanam Charamyaham Gayamanam. While singing Harikatha Charamyaham, I travel around. So Vyasadeva is hearing from the spiritual master, and we can just imagine what ecstasy he must be feeling at hearing about the ecstatic supreme achievement of his spiritual mentor, his spiritual master. And here, this description of how Narada himself relishes the Lord's glories is his prelude to his instructing Vyasa to similarly relish and share the Lord's glories. So Vyasadeva will be told by Narad Muni that just as Narad Muni travels far and wide to share the Lord's glories, and his pervasive travels are manifested throughout the pages of the Bhagavatam, wherein he elevates people, he elevates a small child like Dhruva, who is just 5 years old, and he elevates even a child who is not yet born, Prahlad, whom he instructs while he is still in the womb of his mother, and he elevates those who are caught in piety, such as the Haryashvas, Bahulashvas, who who have a pious father who wants his sons to go on the path of material piety, not towards dedicated spirituality, or the Prachini Barisha, kings like him who are caught in material karma kanda. So he elevates very sinful people like Mrugari and Valdevoli, who become great saints by the benediction of Narada. So Narada Muni is pervading the entire corpus of the Vedic literature, and he's there in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, especially. He's there in the Puranas. He's prominently there in every canto of the Bhagavatam, and thus he bestows his mercy everywhere. So Vyasa is being told that what Narada does by traveling, Vyasadeva should do by writing. That is, share the Lord's glories for the benefit of the whole world. Text 33. Pragayatah swaviryaani तीर्थपादः प्रियश्रवः आहूत इव मे शीघ्रं दर्शनं याति चेतसि प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि. When I sing his glories, swaviryani, swa refers here to the Supreme Lord. Pragayata, when I sing about him, tirthapada priyashrava tirthapada. So the Lord whose feet are the source of purity, of auspiciousness, of holiness. So the Lord who makes everything holy, tirthapada priyashravaha, one who is very pleased, whose glories are very pleasing to hear. Priyashravaha, his name, his glories are very pleasing to hear. Ahuta ivame shighram. So when he says, the Lord, Narada is saying that when I call out to the Lord, Ahut me shighram, immediately, darshanam yati chetasi, he reveals himself to me. He gives me his darshan. So here, Narada, initially he got darshan of the Lord in an earlier life, and then he lost that darshan. And then he had to do sadhana, severe sadhana with determination and hope. And now it is that whenever he sings the Lord's glories, the Lord has become manifest before him, and the Lord becomes accessible to him. Such is the exalted state of devotion that Narada has attained. Now we chant Krishna's glories, and sometimes we feel an elevating presence, and sometimes we don't feel any presence at all. Sometimes we chant and we wonder, oh, when will this end, so that I can get on with other things in life. But that's because our bhakti is not very strong, our desire for Krishna is not very fervent, and Kriyatha mam prapadyante, Krishna says, as all people surrender unto me, tam tathaiva bhajamiham, I reciprocate and reward accordingly. So when someone's desire is not very strong, Krishna does not really appear over there, at least not so much. Krishna manifests as much as our desire. So Narada Muni sings the Lord's glories with such devotion, such intense desire, that the Lord immediately manifests over there. And we too can, by meditating on Narada Muni's glories, meditating on how the Lord reciprocates with such devotion, we too can try to infuse our practice of bhakti with the devotion, and thus attract the Lord's presence. And the Lord will, if we keep practicing bhakti and striving to remember him, he will surely appear, and he will attract our hearts too. So wherever the Lord's glories are being recited, that is where the Lord manifests. When the devotees glorify the Lord, that is where the Lord becomes manifest. His presence becomes accessible to us. Otherwise, his presence is not accessible. So Narada Muni is making the Lord's presence accessible and relishable. He's relishing at him, is accessing and relishing it himself, and he's making it accessible and relishable for others also. Text 34.
एतद्ध्यातुरचित्तानां मात्रा स्पर्शेच्छया मुहुः भवसिन्धुप्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्. It's a beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam now. This verse gives the essential and enduring message of the Bhagavatam. What is that message? Etadhyatura chittanam atura chittanam. Those whose consciousness is atur. Now this atur is eager, but that is eager. In this world, people's consciousness is not eager for Krishna. The consciousness is eager for matra sparshechaya. Matra sparshechaya. For the desire for contact with the sense objects. Muhu, and again, more and more people are craving for sense gratification, sense pleasure over here. And when people are craving thus for sense pleasure, Bhavasindhu plavo drishto, Bhavasindhu, this desire, which puts them, makes them suffer and drown in the ocean of material existence. And to come out of that, plavo drishto, I see what is the plava, the boat. Haricharyanuvarnanam. Haricharya, the glories of Lord Hari, Anuvarnanam. The description of the Lord's glories. Now we wonder what is the connection between these two. That I am craving for sense gratification, and if I hear Krishna's glories, how is that a solution? Actually, we are looking not for sense gratification, we are looking essentially for pleasure. And the propaganda of the world and the preconceptions of the mind based on previous experiences have made us believe that the search for pleasure means the search for sensual pleasure, search for worldly pleasure. And because of that, now the search for pleasure is something which is innate to us as conscious beings. Anandmayo abhyasat. We innately search for pleasure. So we need to understand the difference between, we shouldn't let the search for pleasure be reduced to the search for sensual pleasure. If we equate the two, then we will feel that spiritual life is not just irrelevant, but actually it is depriving us. Because while in the practice of spiritual life, we often regulate much sensual pleasure. So we may feel deprived. But when we understand that it is the Supreme who is the essential object of our desire, we long for Krishna. We long for experiencing Krishna, connecting with Krishna, loving Krishna, and relishing His love for us. To the extent we understand this, and to that extent we will feel inspired to redirect determinedly our search for pleasure from the sense objects to Krishna. And the sense objects do offer some pleasure, but that is just like a drop. Whereas Krishna offers a pleasure that is like an unlimited ocean. So Narad Muni is telling us over here that for all those people who are craving for sense pleasure, the way to relief is the discussion of the Lord's glories. Etadhyatura chittana matra sparshechyamuhu. Essentially, we all look for, we means all conditioned living beings, we all look for sense pleasure in some typical ways: food, sex, and certain other sense objects which create a conducive environment by which we can maximize these pleasures. So we have various senses. We have the eyes, we have the ears, we have the nose, the tongue, the skin, and we want gratification for all these senses. Now,
Matra sparshechayam. Again and again. There is some pleasure which we get by indulging in self gratification, but that pleasure is flickering. We get a little bit and then it's over. And then we want again more and we can't get more at that time. So then we try for something else and then something else and then something else. And in that way, we stay caught at the material level of reality, pursuing a pleasure that never stays for long with us. So we stay for long in pursuing a pleasure that never stays for long. Thus, we stay for long. How long? For many, many lifetimes. Lifetime after lifetime, we keep chasing after the pleasure. But the pleasure never stays for long. It is actually there for a few moments as the senses come in contact with sense objects. Then the sensory capacity to enjoy gets exhausted, and then the pleasure also ends over there. But we stay on and on. But if we want a pleasure that stays for long, that pleasure is the pleasure of bhakti. And that comes when we hear the glories of the Lord. The more we hear the glories of the Lord, the more we feel enlivened by those glories. The more we feel attracted to Krishna, and because Krishna is a reservoir of unlimited happiness, the more we stay absorbed in Him, the more we move closer to Him, and eventually we attain Him for a life of eternal joy. Text 35. Yamadhibir yoga pathai कामलोभहतो मुहुः मुकुन्द सेवया यद्वत् तथा माद्धाम न शाम्यति यमाधिभिर योग पठै yamadhibir. So Largo in the previous verse said that it is bhakti the means for liberation, it is the boat for coming out of material existence. So now what about other processes? He says, okay, yamadhibir yoga pathai. So on the path of yoga, one may follow yam niyama, the rules and regulations of yoga. Kama lobha hato muhu. Yes, it is true that kama and lobha, lust and greed, these material desires, hato muhu, they do get controlled. One can curb them. But mukunda sevaya yadvat. But when we serve mukunda, what happens? Tathamadha na shamyati. But actually the way the Atma, Tatha Atmadha, the way the Atma is satisfied by Harisevaya, nothing can offer that. The Bhagavatam acknowledges the utility of other paths as the yoga path. He says, yes, the desires can be controlled by the path of yoga, but not fully. The kind of contentment, the kind of fulfillment that comes through Harisevaya, that will not come through anything else. That will come only by absorption in the Lord. And it is this absorption that Narada is relishing, that Narada is indicating to Vyasa, you are feeling discontent because you have not absorbed yourself in the glories of the Lord, you have not written about those glories. That's the reason for your discontent. And yes, other processes have potency, but none of them can satisfy the way Hariseva, Mukunda Sevaya can satisfy. Therefore, absorb yourself in the Mukund Seva of writing the glory of Mukunda Seva. That's the subtext. That's the underlying message here. Sarvam tadidam akhyatam yat prushtoham tvaya janma karma rahasyam me bhavataschatmatoshanam. Sarvam tadidam akhyatam. So all this I have akhyatam, I have spoken
Yat prushtoham tvayanagha. Whatever it prushtoham, what you had asked, I have spoken that tvaya unto you anagha. Oh, you are free from sin. Janma karma rahasyam me. The confidential nature of my birth and actions. Rahasyam me bhavataschatmatoshanam bhavatash. For you, this will be helpful in atmatoshanam.
For your personal satisfaction also. So a disciple wants to know more and more about the spiritual master, and similarly, Narada is telling that you will, yes, Vyasa, I have told you as you have asked. And it's not just that Narada wants to tell his glories. Yes, it is, from the point of view of this world, how Narada is a sage who travels everywhere as per his will with no restriction. That is amazing. It is mystifying. He appears and disappears without being under control of anyone. It is amazing and mystifying. So Harmony is unraveling the mystery of how it all came to be. And it is not just that Narmani wants to talk about himself and his glories. He's talking about himself as a example of the liberating and fulfilling potency of devotion. And the underlying message for Vyasadeva is that if you also become absorbed in the Lord's glories, Haricharyanu, I don't know, if you also become absorbed in the Lord's glories, you will also experience Atmatoshanam. So this narrative will help you also to find Atmatoshanam, and you will enable others. Those who, if you write about the glories of the Supreme, you will enable others also to find Atmatoshanam. They will also be able to relish more and more the glories of the Lord. And as the instructions of Bhagavatam started with Yayatma Suprasidati, that by his glory, by the practice of bhakti, the Atma Suprasidati, the Atma becomes satisfied. Here, Atma Toshanam. So a similar theme is being talked about here also, that the soul becomes satisfied by the composition of the Lord's glories. Atma Toshanam. Text 37, Suta Vacha Evam Sambhashya Bhagavan Narada Vasavi Sutam Amantra Vinam Ranayan Yayau Yadrichiko Munihi. So Evam Sambhashya, after speaking this way, Bhagavan Narado, that's what Narad Muni is referred to as Bhagavan, he is a very great soul. Vasavi Sutam, Vasavi Sutam. So Vasavi was another name of Satyavati. So Vasavi Sutam is Satyavati, that is Vyasadeva. So in this way, Narad Muni spoke to Vyasadeva and then Amantrivinam Ranayan. Amantriya. So usually we use the word amantra as meaning amantran, invitation. So invitation can be to come, but basically invitation is a ritual or a gesture of interaction between two people at the start of a meeting. So similarly, something similar at the end of the meeting when we are about to take leave. That is also called as, it can also be referred to as amantriya. So here it is referred to as amantriya vinam ranayan. So he took his leave at vinam ranayan. So it was not just a theoretical thing that, oh, I am absorbed in the Lord's glories. Narada Muni immediately, as he was about to leave, he started vibrating the Lord's glories once again. Vinam ranayan. Yadruchiko munihi, and he departed. Yadruchiko. Wherever willing, however his heart inspired him.
It's 7 o'clock.
Based on the Lord's inspiration of how and where he was to share the Lord's glories, accordingly, he went in that direction. Yadruchiko munihi. The sage left. So our heart's desires are often whimsical, but that does not mean that our heart does not have a longing for the Lord. And if we purify ourselves we'll find that below all the longings that are there in this world, there is the longing for the Lord, which is distorted and dissipated in various peripheral longings, superficial longings. So the more we cultivate a longing for the Lord, the more the longings for various other things will subside, and we will be able to become more and more fixed and absorbed in devotion. Text 38.
अहो देवर्षिर्धन्योऽयं यत्कृतिं शार् शार्णगन्धन्वनः गायन्माद्यन् इदं तन्त्र्या रमयत्य आतुरं जगत्.
Aho is a word used to express appreciation, amazement, glorification.
Aho devarshi dhanyoyam.
Dhanya, it is auspicious, glorious, successful. Let there be all glory and success for this great Devarshi, for this Ayam Devarshi, for Devarshi Narada. Yat Kirtim Sharn, Yat Kirtim Sharnaga Dhanvanaha. Sharnaga Dhanvanaha. Dhanvana is the bow, his bow is named as Sharnaga. So Sharnaga Dhanvana is one who possesses the bow named Sharnaga, that is Lord Hari, Lord Krishna. So yet Kirtim, so his glories are the glories of this Lord are always vibrated by Narad Muni. Gayan Madhyan Idam Tantriya. Gayan, he delights, he sings them, and Madhyan, he becomes intoxicated by them. Idam Tantriya, with this tantra, with this instrument. Ramayatya Aturam Jagat. Ramayatya. In this way, he he enlivens Aturam Jagat. The word Atura was used earlier to talk about how the world is Atura for sense objects. Atura Chittanam Matrasparshe Chayamuhu. The world is craving for sense pleasure, but Narad Muni dissipates their craving and their misery, the misery that is created by that craving, by vibrating the Lord's glory. So, it directly, by this concluding verse of this chapter, Sutta Goswami is actually saying that let all people be relieved from misery. He's saying that let there be success for that great sage who, by vibrating the Lord's glories with his instrument, frees people from their misery. Just like if a doctor is going to a area where there is an epidemic, then in that area we say let there be success for the doctor. That means what? Let patients be cured. Let people become free from the suffering of the disease. Let there be well-being for the people. So when devotees try to absorb themselves in the Lord's glories, that is not self-centered. The more we absorb ourselves in Krishna's glories, the more we will be free from self-centered desires. And the more we are free from self-centered desires, the more we set an example by our words, by our actions, of how others too can become free from self-centered desires, from sensual desires which actually cheat us in our search for happiness. And thus, by absorption in Krishna and by sharing the joy of absorption in Krishna through our words and through our example, we can enable the world to also relish that absorption and thus become free from the misery of the affliction of sensual desires. So it is this which is the desires of the desire that animates the devotees. It is this that inspired Srila Prabhupada to travel all across the globe at an advanced stage. The desire that the Lord's glories be broadcast and thus people become free from the affliction of sensual desire. It was that desire, this compassionate desire, that kept Srila Prabhupada awake, writing so many books, speaking so many classes. Srila Prabhupada, we have almost
6,000, more than 5,000, 6,000 recordings. He practically gave a class, not just one class, if we consider that he was there for 11, 12 years with us, and especially in his active preaching, and that's where we have most of his audios. So if we count it, it's almost like Prabhupada was giving 2 classes per day. Apart from meeting so many people, apart from managing a movement, apart from writing his books, it is that it was this compassion to share the Lord's glories and thereby free people from misery that was animating Srila Prabhupada. And by receiving the benediction of the Bhagavatam that comes from the Bhagavatas, like Srila Prabhupada, like Vyasadeva, like Narad Muni, we too can become free from being the affliction of sensual desire through absorption in the Supreme.